welcome to my show, Diversity and Inclusion in TV, Radio and Film. And as most of you know by now, in this series, industry professionals across TV, radio and film share with me their experiences on this very important matter. And not only do they share their experiences, their opinions, but also many of them are doing a lot of amazing work. They're really in action to change the status quo and to create sustainable, positive change for everyone so that there's equal opportunities for all and not just for the few. Don't miss out on any of my interviews. So do subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit that bell icon so you don't miss out on anything. So this week I have somebody whose thoughts and opinions I'm going to get. She's at entry level, so let me introduce her right now. Joining me today is Nadia Parkar. She's a runner and a production assistant and a very keen content creator too. Nadia, welcome. So good to have you.
Thank you for having me.
It's great. It's great. I'm really pleased you joined me. So listen, talk to me about your experience. First, share with us what your heritage is, and also share with us, because you're a newbie to the whole industry, what your experience has been of inclusivity.
So I'm a Muslim, and my dad's side of the family is from India, and my mum's side of the family is from Africa. So I've got a bit of a mixed heritage. In terms of getting into the industry, I've actually been quite grateful because recently with everything with fame and diversity and stuff, when you apply for jobs and stuff, they ask you now about where you're from and what your heritage is, because I know that companies are starting to become more diverse, but I know that back in the day or before it wasn't like that, but I know that they are becoming more culturally diverse. I know in like our office it is very white, very same coloured, but I know that now starting up we're getting more blacks, Asians, browns, everyone's very, very diverse.
You know what's interesting? One of the reasons I invited you is you kind of remind me of myself a little bit. Because we've got similar backgrounds and we both got into TV at roughly the same age. Now, when I started, I encountered quite some challenges, I'll be honest with you. And one of the reasons I wanted to invite you, not just because you're talented and you know you're a part of the industry and because you remind me a little bit of myself, but also because what I wanted to gauge was you and I, similar backgrounds, both in the industry, me a very long time ago, around 25 years ago, you now. What I wanted to understand is have things change for people from my background, somebody who is like me. So I encountered certain problems, and can you just share if you've encountered any problems coming from essentially an underrepresented group in TV, radio and film?
Yeah, I've never necessarily undergone any problems or challenges on TV itself or like finding jobs, because I've been very lucky with like my family and stuff. We've always been about culture and learning about everyone, and I've grew up in a very cultured environment. My primary school, secondary school, everything's been really cultured, so I've never really seen it as a challenge. I've never seen my ethnicity or anything as a challenge to stop me, but I know that other people have. I know that my friends have, because I know, say, stereotypically or typically in especially the Asian community, it's very much about becoming a doctor or optometrist or along that route. And my grandparents have said it to me like, oh yeah, you know, you can be a doctor. And it's like, I went to a grammar school, I did that whole academic side of things, but it was coming to the point where it's like, and when it came to sixth form, I was at my grammar school, but it was choosing whether or not do I go with the academics, do I go with what my family have wanted, not necessarily my parents, but my grandparents especially. Do I go with that, or do I go with my heart, which is in media and photography and learning about TV? And it was, so when it came to choosing my A levels, I chose biology, I chose maths, but I did media studies as well. I was like, I need to go with my heart at the end of the day, because the topic and the job that I enjoy is in media. But I know that for me, I was very grateful that my parents were understanding, and it was fine, because both my sisters and architects were both in creative subjects. But I know for some of my friends who wanted to do something more creative, it was kind of, oh, my whole family the doctors, or my
Yeah.
parents want me to be this. So I know that it's really hard to break out of that and try and do what you enjoy.
So it sounds familiar, you know, same in my family. And what's interesting is I too, like you did, I did biology A-level as well. However, back in the day, there were no media studies. Nobody knew about any of that. So I never got that opportunity, but I'm so pleased you did. And yeah, I mean, culturally, let's talk about that a little bit. I think your grandparents' generation, they had a particular mindset about what it means to be successful. And obviously these days there's many more opportunities opening up for people, you know, from underrepresented groups, purely because we're your third generation, and in some cases fourth generation, and we've grown up in this country. We are British, so we've got a very different outlook, say, to grandparents or parents in some cases. So I understand that they're looking for the best for their kids, and for them, you know, having a job down the academic line makes sense, because usually they're very well-paid jobs, aren't they? Doctor, surgeon, solicitor. However, in TV and radio and film, I've done okay. I know many people of color who've done okay, and so there is, you know, a good career and money to be made in this business as well. Now, look, I know you're at the beginning, but you are in a paid job right now, aren't you? And you're pursuing that.
Yeah, 100%. It is that thing, because obviously I know, like, my grandparents are like, oh, but doctors, like, well-paid stuff. And I knew, like, I had biology and I had maths under my belt. I knew that there could be more with that. And I knew I could, if I wanted to, get a well-paid job or something that could make me more money. But at the end of the day, it's, do you do something for the rest of your life where, yeah, you might be getting paid more, but it's not something you love, it's not something you enjoy. And for me, if you enjoy something, you won't see it as a job, because you enjoy it, you do it every single day, without fail. And when it comes to, like, grandparents and parents and stuff, it's like, my grandparents have started to become more understanding, because they're starting to realize now, like, oh, it's not, but it's taken a while for me to push that, and for, like, us as 5 grandkids to, like, push that, like, oh, look, there's more, like, you can do this. And they don't understand, because they're starting to open up, that they're starting to realize that things are changing, like, the world is changing. There's not just one route that makes you money, there are many routes. It might not be as much as a doctor, but it's about what you enjoy at the end of the day.
You know, you make a very valid point, Nadia, because ultimately we spend most of our lives at work. Look at all the hours we have to do at work. So if you don't enjoy your job, seriously, you need to rethink everything, because if you're not happy in your job, that's like, what, 75% of your life or thereabouts. That's just too much not to be having a good time or not enjoying what you're doing. So I totally get your point. So now, look, you know, I'm very pleased that you've not experienced any hurdles. You are at the beginning of your career, and I sincerely hope you don't come across any, you know, progressing forward. You've now got some work experience under your belt. Do you have any observations, or clearly you have conversations with others on the diversity and inclusion front? Do you have anything to share on that front?
Yeah, so obviously I've seen, like, that it is diverse, but obviously it's still very male dominated, because speaking to female directors, which there aren't many of, because usually on the blocks that we do it is very male dominated, and speaking to female directors, their perspective of things, and even the males say this as well, to be fair, saying how when they started there was no females in the crew, or it'd be maybe one female in the crew, and the female directors say to them how proud they are that now that there's female camera assistants, there's female third assistant directors, that there's more females, more, even not just females, but more, like, culturally diverse people out there, because people be like, I was the only, like, black person in a crew, or I was the only brown person in a crew. Same in, like, the production office, there was only one brown girl, and now there's, like, loads of us, and they're just, their experience from when they started, they're so proud now because of how far it's changed. Obviously there's still changes that need to be made, it's still not perfect, but from what it used to be, from their experiences. I definitely think it's changed.
And about you personally, just to give you a bit of an insight how it was for me back in the day, and sorry to keep referring to back in the day, but I'm just trying to get a comparison, you know. So when I started, I was the only female Asian woman on many technical crews. I started my career as a floor manager and then went into first ADing. Yeah, that made me feel a little bit insecure sometimes about, and not very confident. And you know, very quickly I became a floor manager, and I was very young. You know, I would think I was about 24 at the time, and running a floor where it was all men and some of them twice my age, that was quite intimidating. So I was wondering, you know, what are your thoughts and feelings when you apply for work or when you go into the workplace? Are you hindered by any kind of confidence issues?
Yeah, to be fair, sometimes I get what you mean in terms of like age and some of the guys are WH, because as a runner, there's often times where we have to tell people things or tell people to be quiet because they're turning and stuff and they're filming. And it's like, because obviously, again, I'm just starting out in this industry and I'm so grateful to get it so soon after graduating a job. But I'm so young and it's telling people what to do. It's like that confidence barrier, because it's like you don't want to be disrespectful, but I'm also here for a reason. I've also got a job the same as you, but just because they're older or maybe because they're male or whatever the reason might be, it's you kind of quieten down a little. But that's not, I sometimes think of that, but then I realize that I'm here as well. Like I'm here doing my job, you're here doing your job, and I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing at the end of the day. It's that trying to have that confidence, but I feel like obviously before it was way worse than what it is now.
Yeah, well, look, I think it's great that you stay in that mode of confidence, because I think that's what it takes. And if you have to fake it till you make it, then do what you have to do, you know. So listen, you're in your early 20s, and what I'm interested to know is, because you will have grown up with a very different mindset to people who are older than you. So what are your thoughts and ideas on creating a funnel or creating some sort of pathways to encourage more people from diverse backgrounds into this business? Part one of the question. Part two of the question is on the cultural side of things. You know what it's like. Your grandparents have said various things to you, but nobody's pressurizing you or anything, which is great. However, with people from diverse backgrounds, families, what can be said to them as well for them to understand, look, there is a career here, that you know, everybody can earn money. We don't all work for free all the time. At the beginning, you have to a little bit, but yeah, can you just talk about those things, please?
Yeah, so I definitely say if you're thinking about coming to this industry and you're feeling hesitant because you're from a diverse background, I definitely say not to. I definitely say don't let that stop you, because nothing should stop you in that way. Because it's a job at the end of the day. And if you want to get into it, it's about what you want. Like I know that it was really hard to find that barrier between having that respect for your family or your culture or whatever it is, but culture changes and everything changes at the end of the day. The world's changing and things adapt, and it's like, oh, it's so hard to say, because it's like you need to do what you want to do at the end of the day, because obviously your parents, your family is always going to be there for you, but it's your life that you're living. You constantly, it's not about, because I have so much respect for my parents and this is not about me being disrespectful to them, but it's going to be my life at the end of the day. I'm sure if my mum wanted to go into being into science and everything, and her parents didn't want her to do that, she would still do that because that's what she wants to do. And she could move away and find a job in Australia, or I could find a job in a completely different country, but I just have to stick to being a doctor because maybe my parents said so. But in terms of like the cultural aspect, if you're worrying about your child or whoever going into that, just know that it is, obviously the freelance aspect can be a bit scary, but if your child or whoever it is really wanting to get into this industry, they will work for it, and there is room for that. It is you will get good money out of it. There are amazing paid jobs, and it is a really good industry to get into, especially if you're enjoying it, and it's about enjoying it again at the end of the day. But yeah.
And what are your thoughts on creating funnels or creating more opportunities from people of diverse background? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think the more diverse, that's better, because especially with, like, obviously you've got the BLM campaign, and you've got BAME, and you've got all these diverse things, which are great. Like, it's amazing that companies are trying to make their companies diverse. It's amazing. And I find that it's really good, because it's given loads of people who probably won't get the opportunity, have that opportunity now. But then saying that, it's kind of like, that's great for now, because obviously we want that change, but personally, I don't want that to be like BAME forever, because I want that to be the norm. Because I don't want, when it comes to jobs now, it's like, are you hiring me because of me, or are you hiring me because you want your company to be more diverse? That's where it challenges me a bit, because it's like, are you doing it for the sake of your company, or are you doing it for me? That's where I want it to become the norm, that it's always diverse. Obviously that's going to take time, and it's BAME and diversity opportunities that's going to help us get there, but that's what I'm waiting for that to be the norm.
So you make a valid point. Yeah, who wants to be a token? No one. You know, nobody wants to be a part of a tokenistic gesture. However, do you think part of that lies with you? Like the organizations are making an effort. Are you the one who's questioning that? Could you not just be with it, that they employed you because you're good at what you do, or because they see something in you? Do you think that rests with you, the whole fear of, am I a token, or are you employing me because I can do the job?
Yeah, it's like finding that balance, because it's like when you have those diversity questions online, I remember at the start, like, my mom would sort of hesitate to say, like, if it was like saying about Muslim or Indian, at the start she'd always say, prefer not to say, because you might not get the job. It's only just come back to me now. She'd always prefer not to say, just in case they might not give you the job because of that. They might not give you the job because of that. And now, on the other hand, it's like, if I put that down, it's more like, because of diversity and BAME and everything, if I put that down, it's more likely that I will get the job because I'm brown. So it's kind of, when it comes to that, sometimes I do put it, but sometimes I prefer not to say, because I want them to hire me for me. Yeah, I'm all for diversity 100%, but I don't want them just, it's finding that balance again. It's because obviously, yeah, I want to be diverse. Yeah, it's amazing that your company's wanting to make your company diverse, like 100%, I'm all for that, but I'm not. It's that balance between, are you doing it because you want your company to be diverse, or are you doing it to show everyone else that you're diverse?
So how can they manage that better then? Because if you're left with this feeling of, oh, am I a tokenistic gesture? What can these companies, have you got any advice on how these companies can manage that better, so you're not left questioning why you've been chosen?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it's kind of like the way that they'll portray themselves. Say, for example, the way they market themselves. If you're marketing yourself, and I'm seeing pictures, stills, or products or stuff, and it's just got mainly whites, or it's just got mainly blacks or mainly browns, clearly you're not diverse. Or if you go onto someone's website and you see who works there, and you can see that everyone is white or everyone is black, clearly you're not diverse. You're just trying to, it's already having that diversity there. Or I don't know, that's a really difficult question.
It is a difficult question, but I get what you're saying. So if they're showing already you have a diverse workforce, then if they do make that selection, they do select you, you don't then, you feel more like, oh, okay, they're already a diverse workforce, so I'm not necessarily a tokenistic gesture.
Yeah, 100%. Because if I turn up to a place and then I'm the only BAME person there, then it's kind of like, oh, okay, so you're not. But then obviously it could be the balance of, from their half, it's like they were very white or very black or very whatever, and this is the start of them getting people in, so it balances either way, really.
Do you know what? It's early days yet. These conversations around diversity and inclusion very rightly are at the forefront of everybody's minds and, conversations, thank goodness. And so I think there's going to be some clunky approaches to begin with, but I remain optimistic that things will smooth out eventually. And I hope, like you said earlier, it's sooner rather than later before we have to distinguish between, people's heritage and backgrounds. It's like, for me, I find it very peculiar. Come that day that everything, it's normalized to just not even mention anything about heritage or background or sexuality or anything. But I think we're a long way off, Nadia. But, I think what you said is, I think it's pertinent. I think that's good. And I hope any organizations watching out there take on what you're saying, because I think you made an important point. Thank you. And also, listen, thank you so much for sharing your experience as somebody at entry level in this business with me on the diversity and inclusion front. It's been really interesting to hear your story. Thank you so much.
No, thank you for having me.
Now, if anything that Nadia said was of interest to you or added value for you, or resonated with you, then do please hit the like button. And also, if you have any thoughts or comments on what was discussed with Nadia today between her and I, then I'd love to hear your thoughts. What are your opinions on what was discussed? And also, if you're in the business or you're looking to get into the business, what are your thoughts on the whole inclusivity conversation? Do get in touch, and also please feel free to carry on that conversation in the comment section below, because I'm very interested to hear everybody's opinions on this. As I mentioned earlier, I have some incredible industry guests each week who share their thoughts and opinions, many of whom are getting on the course and doing incredible things to make a change. So if you want to discover more about that, do subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit that bell icon so you don't miss out on any of the content. Also, today I would like to put a call out to all of you who are decision makers across TV, radio and film. What I'd like to do is offer you to contact me and come and speak to me. Let's have a conversation, because I'll be interested to hear what you're doing at the top level. And also, I was wondering if you might have taken on board what a lot of my contributors, many of whom are women and many of whom come from diverse backgrounds, what they've been saying about their experiences and their thoughts and ideas. There's food for thought there. So all that left for me to say now is a huge thanks to you all for joining me today. I really welcome your audience and look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you.